you struggling to make progress with your RDLs? Or maybe you're finding they're starting to feel stale. While Romanian deadlifts are one of the greatest exercises for building your glutes and hamstrings, sticking to one variation can often limit our progress. In today's video, I'll be breaking down 5 different RDL variations that can help you if you're feeling stuck, bored, or just need a fresh challenge. Whether you're looking to push past a plateau or find a version that just works better for your body, I've got you covered. Let's dive in. So I'm not going to spend any time today really going over the form and technique of the Romanian deadlift. This is assuming you know the fundamentals of it, you understand that it's a hip hinging movement, and you understand that you don't want to go too low, and you simply are going to stop hinging backwards until your glutes stop moving backwards. You don't want to keep going further down like this. If you aren't aware of that, I highly recommend you go back and watch my form and technique video demonstrating the actual fundamental technique of the movement pattern, just so you can get an idea of what the heck I'm talking about here. That's going to be a good starting point, and then you can come back to this video. Variation number 1 is going to be dumbbell Romanian deadlifts. When we are using the dumbbells, the reason I like them is because it gives you some flexibility in comparison to the barbell, which we'll talk about shortly, but it gives you more flexibility with movement. So when you're hinging forward, if you watch the dumbbells, you have the ability to kind of move them inwards, and some people, they prefer to have them outwards. So I typically will rotate them back to my sides like this, and then when I'm hinging forward, I'll rotate them forward where they come mid-shin, and then I'll come back up. Other people, they tend to like to go the other way, and that's okay too, right? Where you start off with the dumbbells in the middle of your thighs, and as you hinge down, you rotate them towards your sides of your shins. I think individuals who prefer this variation, they tend to find that the weight distribution is more in the middle of their body versus being in front of them. So if you have just some back tightness when you are doing Romanian deadlifts, being able to rotate the dumbbells out towards your sides can be a really great option, so that way you can distribute the load based off of what works best for you. Variation number 2 is going to be barbell Romanian deadlifts. When we go to use the barbell, the reason I like this progression from the dumbbells is because it allows you to hold a little bit more if you find that the dumbbells are getting too heavy. And as well too, it keeps things in a nice fixed position, where for some individuals that's important, especially as you lift heavier and heavier. So of course, when we're doing the barbell Romanian deadlift, it's gonna be exactly the same movement pattern as you would with the dumbbells. However, as you can see here, the weight is completely fixed. I don't have the flexibility to move the weight distribution around from the front of my body to the side of my body. So this is going to be a good progression if you find that your strength is going up and if your back is feeling okay. Now, those first two variations are pretty obvious, right? But for whatever reason, we tend to hit a certain point where we do heavier barbell RDLs, and there's limiting factors involved. Like for myself specifically, I get to a certain weight where my back just starts taking over. I've done what I can to make sure that my core is nice and strong, really implementing proper breathing techniques. But as soon as I get to like 165, my back, it just starts to take over. It's not, there's like no pain or anything like that, but it feels like there's a pump in my lower back. So I know like I'm at that point where I'm kind of tapped out on weight. I'm not seeing the real benefits that I'm wanting to. And that's when I reach that point, that's when I start to revisit these other 3 variations, which we're gonna talk about next. Variation number 3 is going to be a single leg Romanian deadlift. I personally like sticking to dumbbells for the remainder of the variations here. When you're doing the single leg, this is going to depend on your balance. If you have really crappy balance, I would recommend holding on to something which I'll demonstrate shortly, but you can hold on to 2 dumbbells if you prefer. With the single leg variation, what we're gonna do is glide the dumbbells down our thighs and hinge backwards and come down to about mid-shin, and look at that, my balance is even crap with this variation. I find it's helpful, of course, if you just find something to gaze at, don't let your gaze wander, find something to fixate on, and that should help quite a bit with your balance. Why I don't really prefer that option, and I don't personally do that option, is because then I'm paying attention to my balance more than the mind-muscle connection. I'm not really paying attention to my glutes and my hamstrings and making sure that I'm having an adequate range of motion and that I'm doing it 100% correctly. So I personally like holding on to something with one hand and then holding onto the dumbbell with the other hand. So what we're gonna do instead, we're gonna get rid of one dumbbell. We're gonna hold on to one, and we are going to use something to hold on to. I find just an incline bench typically does the trick if you have a bar or a wall or something. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Your other hand is just there for balance. That leads into the next question. Which hand do you hold the dumbbell in? And again, this is just gonna come down to your personal preference. I find for myself that the opposite hand of my planted leg, it gives me better counterbalance. And there's some research that shows that when you have, like say this leg is planted forward and then this back leg, like my other hand is holding onto the dumbbell, there's some research that shows that that's gonna help just target your side glute a little bit more just for stability purposes. And we all know that our glute med is a very small muscle group and it's very difficult to challenge. So it's kind of a 2 birds, 1 stone in my opinion, but play with both variations, pick whichever one you prefer and just stick to it. That's the biggest thing. So I'm gonna hold it in my opposite hand. That means I'm gonna have one hand just kind of hold on to something and I'm strictly there for balance, and that's gonna allow me to really just focus on that stretch of my hamstrings and my glutes when I am hinging backwards, and I'm not worried about falling because I'm not really focused on my balance. I have the assistance to do that. And of course, this just really allows me to really prioritize that mind-muscle connection. Our 4th variation is going to be a B stance RDL, or some people call it a kick stance RDL. We're still gonna use dumbbells for this one. I would use 2 dumbbells for this one because the B stance is very similar to a single leg, but your foot isn't kicking all the way back. It's actually gonna be lightly placed down as a way for it to maintain balance, so that way you can perform the movement, but it's still gonna be unilateral, meaning one side at a time. So I still have my dumbbells on the bench here. I know you don't want to be the person to hog a bench when you're doing RDLs, but I do recommend it, especially as you're lifting heavier dumbbells. I would rather you grab them off of the bench versus grabbing them off of the floor. Just put your back into a compromised position. So taking them off of the bench is just a way for you to preserve your lower back. So a little side tip there. So we're gonna grab our dumbbells. We're gonna come out, we're gonna start with one leg at a time, and then our back leg, we're going to have it looks like a B, right? A lowercase b, or again, kind of a kickstand. But all of our weight should be in this front leg. So we're gonna glide the dumbbells down, bending our knee and hinging back at the same time. And again, that back foot is just there for some balance as needed, but all of that weight should be on that front leg. And of course, once you are done, you're gonna bring that leg forward and you're gonna switch sides. So those are the B stance RDL variation. And the 5th and final variation is going to be a Bulgarian Romanian deadlift. Don't let this freak you out. I think most people probably enjoy this variation the most. I promise you they don't suck as much as Bulgarian split squats do. For this variation, you are gonna need a bench, and I would hold on to one dumbbell. So with typical Bulgarian split squats, you're gonna be facing perpendicular to the bench. For the Bulgarian Romanian deadlifts, we are gonna be parallel to it. So because of that, you can only use one dumbbell because the bench is obviously in the way. So you're gonna have your one leg up like this. If you can, you wanna bench high enough where, hopefully you can see that, my back leg, it creates a 90-degree angle. You don't want like this knee that's elevated to be too much higher or anything like that. Most benches are gonna do the trick, but like I wouldn't use a box or anything like that that's really high. So just kind of pay attention to that. It will of course vary depending on your biomechanics. That's why this variation probably isn't gonna work for every single person. But if you find that you have a good range, you can create a 90-degree angle, then this is gonna be an awesome option if needed. Okay, so we're gonna have one leg on the bench and we're gonna have our other leg planted forward. And of course, the dumbbell is gonna be on the same side as the planted leg. And I typically have my other hand on my hip, and I'll show you when I turn around here. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna hinge forward. Of course, let that dumbbell glide down, and we typically come to about mid-shin, and then we're just gonna stand back up. So really focus on, of course, engaging your core, focusing on proper breathing. I think this can be actually a really good option if you are struggling with that mind-muscle connection, if you are struggling with lower back pain while you are doing deadlifts. This does help quite a bit with just taking that pressure off, so you can just really prioritize the movement pattern and of course, focusing on one leg at a time. Just so you can see how this leg looks. So again, 90-degree angles, hand on hip. We're gonna hinge forward and make sure that you have all of that weight in the planted leg. Like don't sit back or anything like that on that side. Make sure that you're nice and forward, really focusing on that planted leg. The other leg resting on the bench is just there for stability, and it keeps you in pretty good alignment as well too. I just thought of a bonus variation, and it involves a T-bar row or a landmine attachment if you're feeling up for it. But the nice thing with the T-bar is it creates a landmine for you. So what you're gonna do, well, let me back you guys up a little bit here. I got too excited and I hit record too fast. Okay, so for a landmine and or T-bar row, you can do B stance, you can do single leg, whatever you prefer. I don't even know which one I'm gonna try. I'm too excited here. I don't even remember the last time I've done this. I'm feeling B stance. I think that's probably best for me here. So again, you're just going to focus on hinging back. You can add some weight obviously on here, but such a great way to just add more variety, give yourself something fresh to focus on, and it is a really effective way to progress as well too. So there you go, a bonus variation for you all. If you guys have landmines or you want to use the T-bar row, that's another great option. So there you have it, my 5+1 favorite Romanian deadlift variations. I'll leave you with this because I know so many individuals are gonna ask, and they typically do ask, which one is the best to grow your glutes? And the answer here is whichever one you can progress with. You know, progressive overload is extremely important. That's the common denominator that's going to allow you to achieve your results. And if you guys have hung around me long enough, you should know that by now. And if not, hey, that's okay. I'm not judging. There's a lot of information out there always going over 5 exercises that are best for growing your glutes and never really taking it a step further to discuss the importance of specificity. Everybody's very different. Everybody's biomechanics is very different. Which exercise I can progress with is going to be different for other individuals. And that's why it's okay to switch things up, to find a variation that you, 1, enjoy, 2, can stick to, and 3, can get stronger at over an extended period of time. If you know that barbell Romanian deadlifts are your jam and you're getting stronger and stronger, keep doing them. If you know, like, you hit a sticking point like I do, where it's like, I can't go any heavier, my back takes over, I have to switch things up, then play with any of these other variations to find that alternative that's going to allow you to 1, enjoy it, 2, stick with it, and 3, get stronger at it, achieve progressive overload. If you find variations that allowed you to do that, and you get better at these movement patterns over an extended period of time, that coupled with your intensity, with your training, how much food you are eating, being in a chronic state of dieting isn't going to help, and that will be a discussion in a future video, but that's what's going to allow you to see those changes, build that muscle, build those glutes that you're looking for. So comment down below, which variations do you enjoy? Which ones are your favorite go-to? I think I might have to play with that landmine after today. I have been doing single leg Romanian deadlifts for the last little while, but I don't know, the landmine, something felt right today. All right, team, see you later.